Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. The Dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha's way is incomparable. I vow to attain it. Thank you again for joining me this morning and being here and sharing this space. I really appreciate it. So I'd like to read just a little bit from A Bird in Flight Leaves No Trace by the Zen teachings of Hung Bo again. And I'm just going to read this one little section that I think, if you'll bear with me, is right to the point. If you raise one principle, you raise all principles. If you see one thing, you see all things. If you see one mind, you see all minds. If you see one way, you see all ways. There is nowhere that is not the way. If you see one mote of dust, you see the mountains, streams, and lands of all the worlds in all the 10 directions. If you see one drop of water, you see all the moisture of all the worlds in the 10 directions. Furthermore, seeing all dharmas is seeing all states of mind. Since all dharmas are originally empty, the mind is not non-existent. The lack of non-existence is sublime existence. Existence is non-existence. Non-existence is existence. This is the sublime existence of true emptiness. So this morning in meditation, I'm sitting and I'm realizing all of a sudden I caught myself making plans. And I immediately saw that this was a fantasy. Plans are constantly having to be adjusted by what is in the moment. And so I was thinking of some future event that was not real, that I was going to have to address a certain way. What a waste of time. Now, it's okay to practice. It's kind of like learning any sort of skill. You know, you practice. So if you see it as practicing, and don't attach to the idea that things are going to turn out a certain way, then okay, you're practicing. So this recognizing that this thought appears, whether it's a future tripping or living in the past, and you recognize that and you're sitting and you come back to the moment, that's turning a thought around. That's coming back to this primary point that this Hung Bo so eloquently presented to us. The wonderful thing about that paragraph for me is nothing is missing. So, you know, we think about traveling, going out to eat, things we miss, contact, human interaction, and hugs and kisses, things that we don't have right now. And already people are planning, you know, their restaurant trips. You know, things are starting to open up here and there. I hope people don't throw caution to the wind. I hope people understand the situation that we're in, and that diligence, forbearance, patience is important. Continually through this process, we can't let up. Just like when we're sitting, we can't fall into that daydream, just take off with it, become, you know, I used to refer to it as getting on the train of thoughts and letting the train take you somewhere. That's kind of how karma works, you know. So if you see it, you can change it. If you don't see it, you're just on that train, continuing down that road, wherever that might lead you. The problem with the train is you don't really feel connected when you follow that train. When you hop on that train, you lose your center. And then you go through the world thinking something's missing. What can I do to fix it? And then you look for some external thing to fix it. Maybe if I get on this other train over here, it's going to Budapest. That sounds like a better trip. Maybe I'll take that one. But remember what this paragraph just said. You see one way, you see all ways. You see a drop of water, you see all moisture. So this emptiness, this primary point, is not empty, is it? It's only empty of trains going into some diluted mirage. But everything that's real is there. But we're not trying to change the universe. We're not trying to make it the way we think it ought to be. We're appreciating it just the way it is, with all its love and beauty and sorrow and pain and suffering, all of it. Why? This is the plane of existence we live on. This is what's happening here. What are you going to do? Soon enough, you'll go live in the world of angels or devils, depending on your attachments and desires, and wants and needs, and things that you carry with you. So putting it all down just means having it all. Putting it all down just means get off the train. Welcome home. Here you are, you're home. You're home, always. So, believe me, I get lost all the time. I got lost trying to do my new rendition of the Heart Sutra here tonight. You know, the mind is fascinating. Here I am reading the new version right in front of me, yet my mind and my voice is repeating the old version. So that's what happens, right? I mean, it takes patience and being generous with ourselves and understanding and allowing the shift, the adjustment to current conditions to take place. And recognize the habit energies, you know, how we're built. This is how we're built. It's not something to feel guilty about. It's not something, you know, to think, oh shit, I'm going to hell now. Let go of all that stuff. Just see it. And it's already taken care of. We move on. Gosh, all those years, you know, I struggled with my self-esteem, my desire to be heard or seen, wanting to be loved, all those feelings of lack. So compassion, wow. Where does that come from, if not from this place we're talking about? Certainly not from will, self. I'm going to save all beings. You know, sometimes people get frightened by this whole notion of emptiness. And they run away. There's nothing to fear. As I keep learning over and over again, fortitude, it takes diligence and willingness to keep working at it because of habit energy, because of all these years of thinking a certain way. It's the funny thing about it is that it's because there's no denial involved. There's no denying. So I can be all that I am with all my craziness. Without seeing it as a problem. Trying to fix it. So awakening isn't fixing anything. There's nothing to fix. It's so confusing. Fundamentally, this wonderful idea of self, Buddha made it really clear, but most of us will probably take lifetimes to get it, that this self is no self. Let's open it up and hear what you guys have to say, please. Wonderful as always. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Who's next?
Okay, I can go.
Okay, Veronica.
So lately, what's happening to me is that it's kind of like that language of Zen. The sitting is perfect. There's no problem with that. But the actual language bounces off me. Like, it's a very interesting thing. All of a sudden, I can't relate to it. Like, for example, like empty, like consciousness, talk about consciousness is all that is. I'm just giving you an example, makes a clarity in my mind that other kind of ways of speaking about that in Zen doesn't, like all is consciousness and stuff like that. I can relate to that. And I cannot relate to I don't know what this is about. I have no idea. And it's kind of like, there's a shift. And I don't know what to do with that shift. That's all I wanted to express this morning.
It reminds me of the Zen story. It says, please, teacher, help me. I can't stop my mind. And the teacher says, well, where is your mind? And he says, I don't know, I can't find it. And he says, there you go, I fixed it.
Yes.
So consciousness is like that. What does that mean? So I think that from the Zen perspective, just it sees the consciousness here. Language is an interesting thing because, as you mentioned, culturally, where you come from and how you use language, like the word love is a great example.
Yeah, I was going to use that one.
So many cultures, it means different things depending on what your understanding is. So I think on one hand, not to get too caught up in labels and names and forms and get to the essence. And I think that all paths, objective is the same thing. Get to the essence, get to reality of things as they are. So Zen has a particular, like you say, language about getting there, but also doesn't rely on language. It relies on experience. So a lot of the language of Zen is deliberately to take you away from being attached to names and forms and concepts and constructs. And again, Zen is trying to get beyond words and conceptual understanding to the primary point. What is this? Don't know. In a way, our meditation is, it's expedient means. So awakening, our Buddha nature, doesn't rely on a technique. It's always there. It's just that we don't see it. So we use these expedient means to get to being able to see and awaken to our true nature. So this expedient means is, yes, doing just that all the time, coming back to the practice in every situation. Because it's a habit, if you're not there, you recognize it right away and you bring yourself back. It's like, the subconscious breathing. You don't have to make any effort to breathe. It's just natural. Well, once you recognize this natural state of just being focused in the present here and now, it feels right. So you keep coming back to it. And when you're not there, it feels off. You turn that inward and you see it and you're there. Checking your temperature or your blood pressure or anything. It's just another way of checking in, seeing what's happening. Hey, whoops, I'm off. Come back. So yeah, you practice all the time, even when you're not sitting.